Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to Vinyasa Flow. My name is Sherry. We haven't practiced together before. I will be leading you through this hip-focused Vinyasa Flow class. So before we get started, I did offer a playlist. If anyone is interested, you can swipe up on Yoga Tree's stories, add it on Spotify, and you can flow along to some tunes if you wish. Also, I do suggest, if you like, to grab a couple props. I'm using cans of beans instead of blocks because it just gives my fingertips a little bit more reach towards the floor. And I also have a blanket. So I don't know what kind of surface you're practicing on, but sometimes just having a little extra cushion for the knees, or maybe you want to place it underneath of the hips or anything like that. So if you want to grab those things, feel free to go ahead and get some of those extra little props. And when you're ready, we're going to start just by finding a comfortable seat towards the top of the mat. And you're going to find any way that feels good. You can, again, use that blanket to sit on if you're feeling a little bit agitated in the glutes. So peel the flesh out from underneath of the sit bones, ground yourself down towards the floor, and then taking your palms, you can either rest them on the knees or in the lap or whatever feels really comfortable today. Take a moment, close the eyes, and just begin to settle into the body. Big inhale to roll the shoulders up by the ears. And exhale just to let them slide on the back. Staying nice and broad in the chest. Bring our focus and our awareness into our breath. Finding those longer inhales and match them with longer exhales. Just taking a mental note of how we feel today, how the body feels. Every day is a new adventure in your body, so just being aware of what it's telling you as you flow through practice today. And not that there's a right or wrong way to feel, but do check in with yourself mentally. How do you feel? Try to let go of any expectation, any judgment, so that you can just go with the flow today. That means wherever you need work, you take work, and wherever you need rest, you take rest. Just trust that your body will tell you what it needs in those moments. And that will come together for a couple united breaths. So wherever you are in your breath cycle, take an exhale, cleanse your lungs. Inhale deep. Sigh out the mouth. 2 more inhales. And let it go. Good, last round in. And release. Closing the mouth to breathe back in and out through the nose. See here just how much space, how much depth that you can find. And once you settle into a pace of breath that feels more like ease than effort, place your right palm towards your belly and your left palm towards your heart, just to help join the breath and the heartbeat. And if you'd like to set an intention for practice today, choose a person, place, thing, or goal, or whatever it is that inspires your movements on the mat, and repeat that intention in your mind just a few times now. Sealing it off with a full breath in. And exhale. Tuck the chin in towards the chest, and open the eyes with a couple blinks, taking the gazes back forwards. All right, so we're gonna make our way just down into the mat quickly. So soles of the feet connect to the floor, reach the fingertips forwards, and find a nice slow melt. So vertebrae by vertebrae, so you wanna count each one individually against the floor. Start to roll them down, down, find that middle, and then the upper back. And once the shoulders touch, reaching those arms behind you, extending those legs, take a nice long stretch in. And exhale. Take the knees in towards the chest. And let's make the knees wide. So just starting to sway around on the mat a little bit here, finding those big circles, massaging the sacrum against the floor. And then as though we're stirring 2 individual bowls, we're going to draw the knees in towards one another and then start to spread them out away from one another. Seeing how big of a range of motion you can find, and go a little slower than maybe you'd like to. So it's a little bit more precise. You're finding a little bit more muscle action as you stir the femur bones around in the hip sockets. And now switch up the direction. See how it feels to go. We go our favorite way first. So see how it feels to go your non-favorite way. Any clunks or clicks that you feel in the hips, just taking notes of those things mentally. One more big rotation. And then coming back through to center. Interlace fingers to the top of your right shin and slide that left heel forwards and down. So letting the head and shoulders just be nice and relaxed towards the mat. Take a big inhale. And exhale, squeeze that right knee up and towards that right shoulder. So keeping the belly very firm, very active here. We're gonna start to stir, again, that thigh bone around in the socket. So just starting to get into this hip flexor compression, seeing how this feels for you on this side. You might roll up the ankle while you're here, just getting a little bit more mobility in those little clicky-clacky joints. And then from here, we're gonna come back through center, taking the left palm against the left hip. Bend the left knee, so sole of the left foot is on the mat. And you take the right elbow inside of that right knee, reaching for the bottom of that right foot. So the outer lining of the foot, the pinky edge, and then send the sole of the foot up to the ceiling. So we're in this sort of half happy baby, but keeping both of the hips super anchored towards the floor. With your exhales, you're gonna just gently tug that right knee to the outside of that right shoulder. Now noticing here, if that left hip is flopping up off the mat, you wanna stay really grounded by using the strength of the core and that left hand to prop you down. One more big breath in, and one more exhale, squeeze. Good, draw that right heel down to the glute, sole the left foot on the mat, flex the right ankle, cross it over top of that left knee. You're gonna use your right palm to just gently press that right knee forwards so you have a parallel with your right shin towards whatever's in front of you. This feels like enough. This is our first external hip rotation. You might stay here. If you're feeling like you have more space to play with, thread the needle. So grabbing the palms through that little space you've created with the thigh and the shin. You're gonna reach for either the back of the left leg or even the top of the left shin. Keeping a really strong flex in that right foot, maybe a little sway from side to side. Just noticing how this feels. This first position, we're probably pretty creaky still. We just mostly, well, I mean, I just woke up, so. Quarantine life. And you'll find a little more intensity on the left side of the mat than you will on the right side. And as you pull the knee in closer, you'll find more intensity as well. Taking one more big breath here. And one more exhale to squeeze. Good. Very gently release the sole of the left foot down to the mat. Keep the legs just as they are, but open up your arms like a capital T, so your palms are facing up towards the ceiling. Now all you're going to do is tip that right foot all the way over towards the left side. Now once the foot connects, use your left palm to just gently press the knee forwards and away from you. It's a little bit more of a hip opener in this twist as well. And if you like, you can take your right hand, your right knuckles, and just give yourself a little massage on the outside of that right hip. You'll feel kind of where the money spot is, where things feel a little more tight, a little more tense. So you can use your knuckles here, and you're just massaging around in circles, exploring space, seeing what you notice. Yoga is all about research into our bodies. Every day is a different day, a different adventure. So you just want to take the information that you're given and use it to make good choices for yourself. And everybody's different, so everybody will be in a different space in their practice. One more big breath in. And one more exhale. Open up those arms back like a capital T. Squeeze the belly, squeeze the legs, and draw those knees back through the center. Carefully set the sole of the right foot down to the mat, and we're just gonna wave the knees from left to right. Just getting both internal and external rotation of the hips here. So internal when it falls inwards, external when it falls outwards. And then coming to the other side. So interlacing fingers to the top of your left shin, slide that right heel forwards and down towards the floor. Head and shoulders stay nice and relaxed. Big breath in. And exhale to squeeze the left knee towards the left shoulder. Now again, we're gonna play into those little movements in the hip. Maybe you're rotating that left ankle. See what you feel on this side. It might be a totally different experience on this side. We're not really that symmetrical of creatures. You want to think of the sides of your bodies like eyebrows. They're sisters, they're not twins. So every side will offer you a little something different. So it's your job or your responsibility while you practice just to take note of those little differences. One more big inhale. One more squeeze. Good, from there. Taking a hold of the left knee with the left hand. You're gonna bend the right knee, sole the right foot onto the mat, right palm on top of the right hip. Now the left elbow will slide on the inside of the left knee, reaching for the outer edge of your left foot, and then sole of the left foot up towards the ceiling. So you're in this modified half happy baby. Use that left palm to press that left hip down towards the floor. If you feel like you do have a lot of space, you can slide that right heel back forwards. But again, keeping the sole of the foot on the mat is just as good. Making sure we're getting that compression into that hip flexor. We're getting a little bit of that opening rotation. Taking one more breath here. And one more squeeze. Good. Draw the heel down to the glute first. Sole of the right foot comes back to the center of the mat. You're going to cross the left ankle over top of that right knee. Left palm presses the left knee forward. So again, you have that really beautiful parallel shin with whatever's in front of you. This feels like enough. You stay here. If you have some more space to play with, thread that needle. Reach for the back of the thigh, top of the shin. Also another name for it is a figure four. We'll be revisiting this shape a little bit later and just seeing the differences that we notice, but just really establishing our base here. Strong flex in that ankle. You want to make sure those toes are close towards the shin as possible. And taking one more long inhale. And one more exhale to squeeze. Really nice. So sole of the foot comes down to the floor, but the legs stay just as they are. Open up the arms once more like a capital T, palms facing up, and you're just going to tip your left foot all the way over towards the right side. So once the foot connects with the floor, take that right palm, push that left knee forwards. So it's pointing up towards the ceiling, more like a teepee or more like a little tent. And then if you like, you can take your left knuckles and just give yourself that little massage on the outside of that left hip. See what you notice on this side. Is this side giving you any sort of different sensations? Is it a little less tense perhaps? It all really depends on our body, how we use our bodies in day to day. Sometimes even if you favor, like what if you slouch and you favor one elbow while you're working at your desk or whatever, it can always offset in the body. So we just want to take those little moments here to just see if we're doing anything like that. One more big breath in. And one more exhale. Open up the arms like a capital T. Engage the belly. Draw those knees all the way back through center. Set the sole of the left foot down to the mat and then just wave the knees from left to right. Nice, big, dramatic windshield wipers. And then once you feel ready from that, you're going to reach for the backs of the thighs and just get a rock and roll up and down along the spine. So nice massage down each one of the vertebrae. And then when it feels like it calls for you, make your way into your first tabletop, however you like to arrive. So in your first tabletop, I'm going to take it a little bit wider than our usual tabletop. So wide palms, wide knees, nice wide base. And we're just going to find a little bit of free flow action. So it's like a marriage of cat and cow. Big dips in the elbows. Bring that focus, that sway into the hips. Let the pelvis just sort of rock and swirl. Bringing that specific emphasis into the hips themselves. Noticing what you feel. You might feel a little bit more in your groin in this wider shape. Think of some barrel rolls in the chest. Just close your eyes, breathe, and move. There's no right or wrong answers. There's just movement. So see where it is that your body takes you, where you're sort of defaulting to today. One more big breath in. And one more exhale. Good. Carefully coming back through center. Let's take the palms back under the shoulders, but keep the knees still nice and wide. You're going to find about a 50% cap back, so pushing that floor away from you, protracting the shoulder blades. Think about the chest trying to reach away from the mat. Once you have that little bit of a puff between the shoulders, you're going to step both legs straight back for a wide-legged high plank. So toes towards the edges of the mat here, pushing that floor away from you. Take a nice long inhale, and then exhale, hips up and back. So we're in a wide-legged down dog. So really use that wide-legged down dog to your advantage. You're going to pedal the feet, sway the hips from left to right, shake out the head, yes and no. And now that we have this really wide base with the feet, it's a little bit easier to let our chest just sort of melt back towards the thighs. So get that low belly engaged and sort of roll the eyes of the elbows forwards. That will help enable you to press the shoulder blades down the back, squeezing that spine in between the shoulder blades themselves. And then coming into stillness in this first wide-legged down dog.
With your next inhale, lift the hips and heels high to the ceiling, stretching the arches of your feet. And exhale, settle the heels back down towards the mat. This time, lift the hips and heels high, but continue a ripple forwards, arriving back in your wide-legged high plank. And then with your exhale, just to slowly pick those hips up and back, downward facing dog. 2 more like that. Inhale to roll the body forwards. Really use that whole breath round to your advantage. And exhale again, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Last one, make it like a wave, ocean wave, rolling forwards. And then pulling all the way backwards. Once you're back in that final wide-legged down dog, take a big breath in. And sigh out the mouth. Walk the palms back towards the toes, bending the knees as you go. So you can just hang in a nice soft forward fold at the back of the mat. Shake out the head, yes and no here. Let everything go. If you want to grab opposite elbows, if that feels good, go for it. And just let that upper body be heavy. Really bend the knees so the hamstrings are protected. And then release the fingertips down towards the floor. Draw the heels inwards just a little bit so the toes are pointing slightly outwards. And with your next inhale, sweep the fingertips down, sit low into a squat. And exhale, forward fold, softening down. 2 more like that. Inhale to sweep the fingers forward, sitting nice and low, squeeze the bum. And exhale to forward fold. Good, last one will hold. Inhale to sweep it forwards and hold here. So weights towards the heels. Squeeze what's underneath of you. Really feel the glutes and the hamstrings light up. We want to bring that natural blood flow into our legs so that when we open our hips up, there is those nutrients, that oxygen available to them. Soft shoulders down away from the ears. Here for another 3. Another 2. And an exhale to forward fold, release. Heel toe the feet to hip width distance. Hip width distance is 2 of your own fists that will fit between those 2 big toes. Take an inhale to lengthen halfway, puff the chest. And exhale, forward fold, soften the knees. Work the palms back forwards towards the top of the mat into a downward facing dog. So now that you're in your classic downward facing dog stance, see what you feel. If you feel like you rounded through the back at all you need to do is bend the knees so the chest can just, again, fall back towards those thighs. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. First vinyasa, inhale to ripple forwards into high plank. You might set the knees down to the mat as you lower halfway. Chest stays off the floor, chaturanga. Inhale to prop the heart open, upward bend of choice. If you're playing up dog, thighs lift up off the mat. And pick up from the hips, pick up from the core. Take it back, downward facing dog. Beautiful work. Big breath in. Big breath out. Good. From here, connecting the big toes towards the back of the mat. Let those toes kiss one another. And then take an inhale to lift the right leg high. Bending at the knee, open up the hip. So you'll notice that the right shoulder sort of wants to open up with that hip. Work on squaring that right shoulder down to the floor, but using the glute strength of that right leg to help draw that right knee nice and high to the ceiling. Take a big breath here. And exhale, touch the upper right arm bow, getting that little squeeze into those obliques, moving slowly. Good. Inhale to open up the hip, stack it nice and tall. Exhale, cross the body, left elbow. Get yourself that little twist. Inhale to lift it up and back, stack it nice and tall. And then exhale, step those right toes forwards, setting the left knee down to the mat. So this is where you might use a blanket underneath of the knee if you have sensitive knees, or you might roll up your mat or your towel underneath of your knee, whatever feels good. And take an inhale to rise up into our low lunge. Exhale, let the hips settle forward. So notice if your ribs are popping out, you want to close those ribs in. If you like, you can rest your hands on your knee, just giving yourself a little bit more stability. If you want more sensation, squeeze that left glute. That will help give you just a little bit more, opening up that entire left hip flexor. Here for 3. Here for 2. And an exhale, forward fold. Palms to the inside of the ankle. We're going to heel toe the right foot towards the right side just a little bit more. Eyes the elbows slightly facing forwards. Take an inhale to let the belly dip. Chest comes forward like a cow pose. And then exhale, round the spine. Squeeze the knee and the shoulder in towards one another. Inhale again, let the belly sort of dip down.
Maybe you're lifting up on the tips of the fingers. And then exhale, round that spine.
Tuck the chin in towards the chest. One more, inhale.
One more, exhale.
Good, this time with your next inhale, coming back forwards. You're gonna heel toe that right foot in between the hands and just rock it back for a quick half split, releasing that hamstring. Solid flex of the toes in towards the shin. Nice long inhale. Nice long exhale. With your next inhale, sole of the foot connects to the floor. Draw your left palm down to the mat. Curl the left toes under, lift the left knee off the mat. Now start to just sprinkle those left fingertips down. Scissor that right thigh back and send the right thumb up to the ceiling in your twisted lunge. Stacking the shoulder blades. Maybe you're even floating the fingertips off of the mat today. See what it is you need from practice. Here for 3. Here for 2. Exhaling both palms down to the inside of the ankle. Drop your back heel and spin your way to the long end of the mat. Take a nice long inhale to lengthen out the spine as though you're balancing a tray of drinks on your back. And exhale, bend 90 degrees towards that left thigh, holding there. So you can keep your fingers on the floor if you like. You can bring your palms together at heart center, or you can even expand your wings. Seeing still, if you could still balance a tray of drinks on your back. Squeeze the glutes, pressing into the outer edges of the feet. Here for 3. Make sure you're breathing for 2. With your exhale, nice and slow, use the legs to help spin you forwards towards the top of the mat. Temp the fingers just in front of those right toes without jumping. Use the strength of that right leg to draw the left leg up into your warrior 3. This is where those cans of beans can come in handy if you need a little bit of space. If you like, you can keep your fingers on the floor, or maybe you're expanding. Palms to the heart center, thumbs to the chest. Work on wrapping that left hip down. I do suggest hands on the hips is such a helpful guide. Use those hands to help drop that left hip down. Sometimes you just need a little bit of a bend in the standing leg. Here for 3. Give yourself the room that you need in the hamstring, especially if you're tight. Here for 2. With your next inhale, bend at the knee, land the toes to the back of the mat. Send the fingertips up to the ceiling, breathe in. And exhale, palms come down to the mat. Step it back into high plank. Option to flow through your vinyasa, or option to send it back to downward facing dog. Always take the work you need. Leave the work that you don't. It's your practice, your rules. Once you're back in your down dog, big breath in. Sigh out the mouth. Connect those big toes at the top of the mat. Big toes touch, or towards the back of the mat rather, big toes touch. Inhale, left leg lifts, bending at the knee, opening up the hip. Notice if that left shoulder is opening up with the hip, work on squaring the chest down and lifting that left knee high, using that glute strength of that left glute. Take a big breath here. Exhale, touch the upper left arm bone, move nice and slow. Inhale to send it up and back. Exhale to touch the upper right arm bone, get that squeeze. Inhale to send it up and back. And exhale to step those right toes forwards and set the left knee down. Now remember, if you like, you can use the mat or the towel or the blanket underneath of your leg. We're going to take the palms to the inside of the ankle, heel toeing the left toe out to the side slightly, eyes of the elbows slightly facing forwards. Take an inhale to let the belly drop. Gaze is forwards, tail is up. And exhale to round the spine, squeezing the elbow and the shoulder in towards one another. Inhale again, let the belly drop, gaze forwards. And exhale again, rounding through that spine. Good, last one, inhale. Coming forwards, maybe tenting on the fingers. And exhale to round it out. Okay, carefully coming back through center. Heel toe the foot back and towards the center of the hands. I realized I forgot the low lunge, so we're going to inhale, rise all the way up, and exhale, settle the hips forwards. So if you like, you can take your hands on your knee. Notice if those ribs are jutting out. I'm going to pull that belly in, a little bit of a tuck of the tailbone if you want more, a little bit more sensation. Squeeze that right glute, and that's going to help give that to you. Take one more big breath here. One more exhale. Carefully, palms coming down to frame the foot. Rocking the hips back into a half split. Strong flex in those toes towards the ankle. Take a nice long inhale. And an exhale to fold.
Good, one more breath in. One more exhale. Sole of the foot connects down with the floor. Curl the back toes under, lift that back knee off the mat. Now, you're gonna sprinkle those right fingertips down to the floor and slowly expand your weight. So sending the left thumb up towards the ceiling. Now, if you like, you can start finding a little bit more action here. Maybe you've been pressing that right palm against the right thigh, or just keep it on the floor today. It's up to you entirely where you want to add layers to your practice. Here for 3. Here for 2. And both palms come down towards the floor. Drop that back heel, spin to the long end of the mat. I'm just gonna face you guys. And then from here, lengthen the heart forwards. Take an exhale to bend 90 degrees towards that right thigh. So once that right thigh is nice and bent, you can press into the outside edges of the feet. Really feel the glutes light up. Maybe fingers stay on the floor. Maybe palms come to heart center. Or maybe your wings expand. Here for another 3. Here for another 2. Use the legs nice and slow. Spin your way towards the top of the mat. Tent the fingers just in front of the left toes. And without jumping, lift, float that back leg up into your warrior 3, your version. Now you can use those blocks or those cans underneath of your fingertips. Give yourself some height. Maybe those palms come to heart center. Or maybe the hands stay on the hips today. You're working on using the hands to help drop and roll that right hip down. Sometimes a little bend in the standing leg is all you need if you have a tight hamstring. Here for 3, pull that low belly in. Here for 2, big bend to the knee, tap the toes back. Send the fingertips up nice and high, inhale. And exhale, palms come down to the mat. Step those left toes back, option to flow. Option to send it up and back, downward facing dog. Choose for you. See what feels good today. Once you're back in downward facing dog, big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, ripple forwards, high plank. Set the knees down to the mat, tabletop. So 2 options here. You can either play with a child's pose, in which case you might take those knees a little bit wider and let the hips settle back, or you can play with a puppy pose. If your shoulders are feeling a little bit tight, you're gonna walk the palms to the opposite corners of the mat. Let the forehead melt down, but the bum stays poking up nice and high. And the forehead can rest. Maybe the chin even comes in forwards and rests. Wherever you are, just taking these moments. If you need a sip of water, towel off, feel free to grab one. I'm gonna have a sip of water as well. How's everybody doing? How's quarantine life? It's like the highlight of my week. Like, humans, guests. All right, once you're ready, bring yourself back up into your tabletop position. Curl the toes under and send the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Once you're back in your downward facing dog, assess how your down dog is starting to feel. Are you finding new spaces? Again, remember, bends in the knees are always good. We want to give our spine room to be long. We don't care about straight legs at all. It's all about that length. With your next inhale, bending at the knees, gazing forwards, step or float to the top of the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen halfway, squeeze the shoulder blades back, and exhale to fold and soften the knees as you go, protect those hamstrings. Rooting into the feet and squeeze the glutes as you rise up, palms up, gazes up, and exhaling, palms to heart center, and down by the sides. So we're gonna take 3 rounds of sun salutation A just to rinse everything out, so make them whatever you want them to be. If you want to modify, if you want to add cool layers to it, if you want to double up your chaturangas, up to you entirely. We're just going to get that blood flowing, getting everything moving. So connecting the big toes towards the top of the mat. Let the heels fall slightly apart. Palms facing forwards, roll the shoulders, up the ears and down the back. Stay nice and strong in the belly, nice and strong in the thighs, but relaxing through the face, relaxing through the shoulders. Big breath in. Big breath out. With your next inhale, sweep the arms up, gazes up. And exhale, forward fold, softening the knees as you go. And inhale to lengthen halfway, squeeze the shoulders back. And exhale, palms connect to the mat. Step or hop back through high plank, flowing through the rest of that vinyasa in a way that honors you. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. So however you want to get there is always your choice. Remember, everybody's at different levels of practice, so you might skip a bunch of vinyasas today, especially if you're feeling a little more tired.
Once you're back in your downward facing dog, focus on pressing into the hands, all 10 fingertips, especially that index finger and thumb. That's the strongest part of the hand. So we want to get that weight away from the pinky edges of the hands and in towards that stronger base. Take one more breath in. And one more exhale. With your next inhale, bend at the knees, gaze forwards, step or float your way towards the top of the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen half stance, and an exhale to forward fold, soft knees. Root to rise, sweep arms up, gazes up, palms connect. And exhale, palms down, heart center, and down by the side. Second round, big toes connect. Inhale, sweeping arms up. Exhale, hinge from the hips, forward fold. Inhale to lengthen halfway. Exhaling, palms connect to the mat, step or hop back through high plank, flowing through. Remember, modifications are always welcome. Use your knees for support, especially if you're newer to the practice or you're feeling a little bit less energy, or you're feeling like your upper body strength isn't there today either. Lots of options. Make sure that you're choosing form. Form always wins over what we think the poses should look like. And if you want to try a little bit new space for the calves, you might try a little pigeon toe, heels out a little bit, or you might even draw the heels and the inner lines of the legs together, more of a duck foot. And that will kind of get towards the outside edges of the calves and the knees. So see what feels good. If you don't like either, that's fine. You can just stay back with the heels in neutral. One more big breath in. One more exhale. With your next inhale, bend at the knees, gazing forwards, step or float towards the top of the mat. And inhale to lengthen halfway. And an exhale to forward fold. Rooting to rise, sweeping arms up, gazes up, palms connect. And exhaling, palms to heart center and down by the sides. Final round. If you're feeling really confident in your sun salutation A, close the eyes. See how it feels to observe the body internally as opposed to really seeing where you're going. So with your next inhale, sweeping arms up, gazes up. Exhale, forward fold, soften the knees. Feel the body. Inhale to lengthen, squeeze the shoulders back. Exhaling, palms connect to the mat, step, hop, flow your way. Again, option to always skip any vinyasas that you don't need today. And once you're back in downward facing dog with those eyes closed, what do you notice? What do you feel? Can you hug in that low belly? Can you find a little bit more of that pelvic floor lift, your mula bandha? Almost like you're doing a Kegel or squeezing a small block between the inner thighs. Just bring a little bit more of that deep core action into your shape. Another 3. Another 2. Open the eyes with a couple blinks. With your next inhale, bend at the knees, gaze forward, step or float towards the top of the mat. And inhale to lengthen halfway. And exhale to fold, soft knees. Root to rise, sweeping arms up, gazes up. And exhaling, palms to heart center and down by the sides. Good. Take a moment here with the eyes closed. Finding your stance, your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Trying to avoid that twitch, the fidgeting, the temptation to touch the hair, the shirt, the pants. See if you can just feel. Notice where you're at mentally. Reconnect to that intention from the beginning of class. What is it that you want from your practice today? Here, another 3. Another 2. And opening the eyes with a couple blinks. Well done. So, I'm going to heel toe those feet apart again, hip width distance. Hip width distance, 2 of your fists that fit between the 2 big toes. So have a quick look at what that's like with the femur stacked right underneath of those hips so we can use the power of the legs, bringing blood flow in towards the hip girdle to that really tough tissue, the tendons and ligaments that surround the hips. So once you've got that, heels are heavy, toes are a little bit more light. We're going to take an inhale to sit low into a squat. So instead of reaching the arms up, we're going to stretch them straight forwards out of the shoulders towards whatever's in front of you and use the glutes and the hamstrings here. We're very quad dominant in yoga, so I want you to find what's underneath of you here. All of this strength in these muscles, the biggest muscles of the body, and see if you can drop down into that space. Start to really warm up those legs. Here, another 3. Soft shoulders, soft face. Here for another 2. And an exhale to forward fold. Take an inhale to lengthen, half stance. And exhale, palms, fingertips rather, come down to the mat. Take a big step back with your left toes. Once those left toes are rooted, inhale to rise up into your high lunge. So take a little bend to that back knee so that you can find a little bit more of a tilt of the pelvis here, sitting low into that right thigh. Really nice. Take an inhale and an exhale. If you want to play with a little bit more space, you draw the elbows back into a cactus. So the elbows are towards the ribs a little bit more, so you can really puff that chest, that heart up, and squeeze the shoulder blades together. Here for 3. Here for 2. Take an inhale to send the fingertips up, and an exhale, bring the palms down to the mat. Dropping to the left heel, come to the long end of the mat, arriving in a wide-legged forward fold. So once you're here in your wide-legged, we're going to draw both of the heels inwards, bringing the palms to the thighs, and just gently press yourself up into a goddess. So you might have to shorten the stance a little bit. It just depends body to body. You want your knees over top of those ankles, and you want to drop that bum nice and low. So knees away from the midline. Use the strength of the glutes to help you find a little bit more space to open up those knees. And we'll just take a little sway from side to side, just feeling what we feel. And then coming back through the center, palms to the inside of the legs. Take an inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, drop that left shoulder down. Inhale, coming back through center. Exhale, right shoulder down. Good. Inhale, come back through center. Turn those toes in and exhale, forward fold. Good. From here, just going to grab opposite elbows. Have a little sway from side to side, letting everything go. And then fingertips release to the floor. Take an inhale to lengthen the heart forwards and spin back towards the top of the mat. So again, setting the fingertips just in front of those right toes without jumping. Float that left leg up, back into your warrior 3. Only here for a moment. We're going to take our hands to our hips here. So with the hands on the hips, strong through the belly. Listen carefully for this cue. Take an inhale to slowly stand like a pendulum, brushing that left heel down by the floor. Draw that left knee up and towards the chest. So from here, flex the left ankle, cross it over top of that right knee, and let that left knee open towards the side. So you're going to balance out your pelvis here by pulling the left hip up slightly and setting that right hip down slightly. Once you're nice and solid, we're going to start to sit nice and low, back into our squat. So reaching the fingertips back forwards in front of you. The more you reach forwards, the deeper you can come into that left, or into that right leg rather. So heel the right foot nice and heavy, so you can bend that right knee just a little bit more. Here for 4. Good. 3, 2. Nice slow rise all the way up. Draw the knee up and towards the chest. Hands come to heart center, and slowly start to tip forwards, extending the left leg behind you back into your warrior 3. Big breath in, find the shape, and then bend at the knee, tap the left toes down. Send the fingertips up nice and high into your high lunge. Exhaling, palms come down to the mat. Float the right toes back. Now you might float the toes here, taking that one-legged chaturanga, maybe even one-legged up dog. And exhale, coming up and back, downward facing dog. Once you're back in your down dog, big breath in. Big sigh out. With your next inhale, bend at the knees. Gazing forwards, step or float to the top of the mat. And inhale to lengthen halfway. And an exhale to forward fold. Root to rise, sweep arms up, gazes up, palms connect. And exhale, palms to heart center. And down by the sides. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. One more inhale. One more exhale. Good. So coming in for our final side. Think about the little lessons that you've learned about yourself, how that right side felt, and let's see if we can bring a little bit more awareness. Now you have a sense of what's coming. See if you can use that to your advantage. Finishing off strong in this last power vinyasa sequence. So heel turning the feet apart again. Hip width distance, 2 fists fitting between those 2 big toes. Femurs right underneath of those hips. Weights in the heels. Take a big inhale. Big exhale. This time with your next big inhale. Sit low into your double leg squat. So again, you're reaching your fingers straight forwards, not above the fingertips are not above the head. They're coming straight from the shoulders, weights in the heels of the feet. Big, big dip in the legs. Tuck that tailbone, especially if your booty popping a lot. See if you can instead lengthen the tailbone down. Here for 3. Here for 2. And then exhale to forward fold. Fingertips down to the mat. Inhale to lengthen halfway. And exhale, fingertips come down. Big step back with those right toes. Right toes coming towards the back of the mat. Pressing into the big toe mounts. Inhale to rise up into your high lunge. So once you're in your high lunge, a little bend to that back knee. So you can really scissor that left thigh back, nice and strong. If you want to stay here, you can stay here. Maybe you're bringing it back into cactus, elbows down by the ribs a little bit more, puffing the chest forwards. Here for 3. Here for 2. Inhale, sends fingertips up to the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold. Drop your back heel, spin to the long end of the mat. I'm just going to face you guys so you're not looking at my butt. Take an inhale to lengthen halfway. Draw the heels of the feet inwards, toes outwards. Sit the bum low and come back into your goddess squat. So this time without the assistance of the hands, drawing the knees away from that midline. Let's take the arms up and back into cactus. Sit it nice and low if you want to find that little bounce. Awesome. Here for 5. Good. Use the power of the legs. Let's feel the burn. 3, 2, and a slow rise. Take your hands to the hips. Turn the toes inwards, and then exhale, forward fold. Just so everything feels the same. This time we'll find a nice shoulder opener. Interlace the fingertips behind the back. Squeeze the shoulders, the elbows back. Take an inhale, and exhale, bend the knees a lot. Let yourself just forward fold. Squeezing the shoulders together. If you don't have option to grab opposite elbows, if the palms don't feel accessible, up to you, whatever feels good. Here, another 3. Another 2. And take an inhale to lengthen the heart all the way forwards. Taking the fingertips down to the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen halfway. And an exhale to forward fold. Good. Now from here, with your next inhale, walk the heart forward, spin to face the top of the mat. Temp the fingers just in front of those left toes. And without jumping, float that right leg up, back into your warrior 3. Now, let's bring hands to the hips here. Get really rooted into that left big toe mount, dropping that right hip down. Take a big inhale and a big exhale, like a pendulum. Slow rise, take your time. Drawing that right knee up in towards the chest, flexing in that right ankle. Draw that right ankle over top of the left knee and let the right knee draw down away from the midline. So you're staying here, bringing that right hip up a little bit and that left hip slightly down. Start to sit nice and low into that left thigh. Reach the fingertips forwards for that counterbalance. It's simple physics of the pose. The more you reach forwards, the more you can sit the bum low. Strong flex in that right ankle. Here for another 4. Good, big breaths. 3, 2, and a slow rise. All the way up, draw the knee up towards the midline as well. Palms to heart center. And slowly, take your time, tip back forwards, into your warrior 3. Once you've arrived in your warrior 3, feel the shape, big breath in, and bend the knee, tap the toes back. Send those fingertips up, nice and high, warrior lunge. And with your exhale, palms come down to the mat. Float the left toes back. Now you might keep the toes floating as you flow through your vinyasa. Options abound. Remember, it is whatever you want it to be today. And once you've landed back in your downward facing dog, take a moment of appreciation for this down dog. Big breath in. And sigh out the mouth. One more inhale. One more exhale. With your next inhale, bend at the knees. Gazing forwards, step or float to seated onto the bum. Extending those legs back in front of you, soles of the feet on the mat. Reach the fingertips forwards. Make sure you have enough room behind you to roll down. And then again, nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae. Let's massage the spine. Count each one as you roll down, inch by inch, muscle by muscle. Once the shoulders touch, no rush. Reach the arms behind you, extend the legs forwards, big breath in, big breath out. Let's take the knees back in towards the chest. Nice massage from left to right. Big circles, massage with the spine. So we've done a lot of external rotation of the hips. So we're gonna play a little bit more into internal rotation to finish off. So what it's gonna look like is you're gonna fully cross that right leg over top of the left. So think like a eagle leg, but opening up the feet. Now get a strong flex in both of the ankles. Lift the head and shoulders up off the mat. Reach underneath with the hands of the ankles, calves, or wherever's accessible. You want to get a really strong flex in those feet and pull the feet apart just like a cinnamon bun. The more you pull the feet apart, the deeper the internal rotation is. So you can stay here, or if you feel like you might have some more space to play with, you're going to relax head and shoulders to the floor and pull the knees in nice and close towards the body. So strong flex in the feet. Now the right hip will drop down a little bit and the left hip will pull up just a tad. And the more you pull those feet apart, the more flexed you keep those feet, the deeper that this stretch comes internally. Internal hip rotation. It's basically like a Gomukhasana, a cow face pose, but a little more accessible, especially if you have knee issues or you're really tight in the hips. You can always start off here. Taking one more big breath in. One more exhale to squeeze. Very carefully unwind those legs. Soles of the feet to each edge of the mat. And again, just wave the knees from left to right. Finishing off on one last side. So bring those inner thighs together to touch. This time fully cross the left thigh over top of the right thigh. Flex in the feet. Lift head and shoulders up off the mat. Use your hands underneath of the legs. So you want to grab underneath of the ankles, underneath of the calves, or wherever. Or if you have tons of space, you might even reach the outside edges of the feet. Now this is one of those positions that I really feel the difference between the two sides. My left side's like, what are you doing to me? So if this is a big, huge change for you, just take that into note. Take a big inhale to lift, and then maybe if you have more space, you're bringing it down. Left hip dropping down, right hip pulling up slightly. Pull those feet apart, just like a cinnamon bun. The further away the feet are from one another, the deeper your stretch is. Here for another 5. Big belly breaths. 4, 3, 2, one more big breath in, and one more exhale. Carefully unwind the legs, feet to the edges of the mat, and again, just let those shins wag from left to right. Really nice work. So from here, settling into rested Shavasana. If you're feeling like you want to still continue a little opening up into the hips, soles of the feet connect, and just let those knees fall out to the sides. Now if you like, you can always prop your cairns or your pillows or whatever you need a little bit of support. I like to take my hands towards my hips, my pelvis here, just sending a little bit of that energy back into those areas that we focused on. Or if you're ready to receive a little bit more energy this morning, open up the palms towards the ceiling, roll the shoulders underneath of you, tuck the chin in towards the chest. So feel free to stay here as long as you like, taking these moments to calm the breath, knowing that stillness is just as important as the movement. This is where we rebuild mentally, internally, where our muscles have an opportunity to absorb all of that information that we just gave over the last 45 minutes. Take one more big breath in, and one more exhale. Feel free to rest here as long as you like, for however long you need to. My name is Sherry. It was really great to see everybody. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.